Chloe Johnson, Professor of Fine Painting, and this is
Nathan Shuey, Professor of Sculpture.
And we are standing in the Piazza della Signoria in Florence.
And right now we're looking at Donatello's Judith and Holofernes, a bronze statue commissioned in 1456, which was originally, I don't know if you knew this, supposed to be a fountain for the Palazzo Medici garden.
Wow!
Yeah.
So what story is this depicting? I mean, that is a woman with a sword. That is not something you see very often.
Yeah, it actually looks more like a machete or something. Very, very violent.
Really is.
The story's actually from the Bible.
No, I didn't read that in the Bible.
Yeah, it's from the book, from a book called Judith, from the Apocrypha, which were canonical during the Middle Ages and Renaissance, but which now are only in the Catholic printings of the scriptures.
Alright, so what is she doing with that sword?
Well, in the story, Judith, a beautiful widow, is able to enter the tent of Holofernes because of his desire for her. And then he was the Assyrian general who was going to destroy her hometown. He was laying siege to her town. And the story is emphatic that no defilement took place.
Mm-hmm.
And she overcame him by getting him drunk, and after he passed out, she was able to decapitate him with that amazing sword.
Wow, and how does she get that head out of the city? How did she get away with that?
Well, usually she has a maid with her, not in the sculpture, of course, but she took the head out in a basket and was able to put it up on a pole in her town, and in the morning when the Assyrian army woke up, they saw their general's head right there and just called off the entire war.
That is a serious morale crusher.
Oh yeah, definitely.
She really headed off that war.
Good one. So in European art, Judith is often accompanied by her maid, as we said.
So that would help distinguish her from Salome, who has John the Baptist's head on a platter.
Definitely.
So that is some sexualized femininity. I mean, she has a sword, which is almost always a phallic symbol. And that's some really masculine aggression, but I mean, it is still clear she's got the dress and the head coverings of a female. There's some contradictory messages.
Definitely.
And interestingly enough, Judith was one of the virtuous women who a man named Van Beverwyck mentioned in a public apology for women being superior to men.
Wow, very unusual for his time.
Really, really was. So what's so important about this statue in particular?
Well, this statue was originally placed in the piazza, and it was the only public monument in the city to celebrate a female biblical hero.
And given that the 16th century art was political propaganda for the Medici, that's really important.
Well, it does say a lot about how the Medici viewed themselves as an underdog, like a woman, defeating the more superior, stronger foes,
like
Milan.
Rome.
Rome and Milan,
Yeah.
Definitely. It was all after that, though. Even though it meant so much to the Medici, it was displaced and moved around a lot. It was in the garden for a while, then I think on top of the building, and they moved it into the covered area that we're standing at now.
And what does that tell us about people's attitude towards this work?
Well, it was quite uncommon and really excessive to move around so much. But it really shows how misogynistic the time period was. And it was interesting enough, in 1505, where it originally stood, it was replaced by the David.
Also an underdog, but definitely a masculine one, and a nude masculine one, really showing off his masculinity.
Oh, definitely. It is right in your face. And she has head coverings, though, totally covered up.
So was this the general attitude towards this, that people didn't like it?
Oh, they thought it was distasteful. A woman subjugating a man, no one liked it. And to mitigate this, they actually commissioned a work by Cellini called Perseus and Medusa. And it shows Perseus standing over Medusa's desolated body.
And man, she does not look comfortable. Her foot is grabbing her ankle. I'm pretty sure knees are not supposed to bend like that.
No, definitely not.
That is just not nice.
And he's holding up her head as if he's just really showing off that he defeated a woman, and he's so proud of it.
Is this a typical representation of this myth?
No, definitely not. The body is usually left out, and we're only shown, usually, the Gorgon's head and with Perseus.
The inclusion of her nude body subjugated really has kind of a rape feeling.
Oh, definitely. It's very threatening.
Yeah.
And then also, soon after this, there was a sculpture done by Giambologna called Rape of the Sabine, and it was a tribute to a male hero who violates an unsuspecting girl, actually. And you can see, I believe that's her father beneath her rapist.
Yeah, that not a nice thing for a father to watch. So you really have a lot of backlash against this powerful woman.
Definitely. People did not like the courageous woman.
So here you see another really courageous woman. We have a Judith beheading Holofernes painted by Artemisia Gentileschi, and this is the second version, started in 1614.
Yeah, a female artist. That was unusual,
Female
right?
artist, it really was, and she actually had a really sad life. Her father was an artist, and so he got her a tutor, and her tutor raped her, and there was just all sorts of bad stuff that went on with that, and so it really affected her artwork.
It sounds a little autobiographical in this piece.
It is. A lot of her pieces either have a really violating view of women, or like this, a really powerful woman in a castrating position. Like she has the sword. She's like literally chopping off his head. She has the power here, and so she's depicting what she wishes she could have done.
Yeah, she looks like a very burly, strong woman in this depiction, and there's quite a lot of blood.
That is just like spurting out. That gore and violence was not well received, and it was said not to be delicate enough for a female to be painting. But this ferocious energy was, I mean, it is such a change from other Judith and Holofernes. I mean, even in Donatello's, you can see that there's the violence, but you don't see the blood. They're not in the act of decapitation.
And her facial expression as well is not, in the Donatello, is not as emotional or angry. Her brow is not furrowed like it is in this painting.
Yeah, you can really see some big emotion in this really realistic style. All the diagonals and her face and the contrast of light and dark.
Yeah, it looks like there's a lamp shining right in their faces.
And this style is known as chiaroscuro and was common in the Baroque period when this was painted. So this is an incredible depiction of female physical power, which was not something you saw very often.
And which this story really is able to tell this unique story because of the interesting dichotomy that Judith embodies between this female seductress and at the same time a very masculine murderess.
It's definitely not like you see women in Western art for the most part. Usually women are being looked at by men, things are being done to them by men, but here she's the one doing the looking, she's the one with the gaze, and he is just sitting there. You have a passive male and an active woman, and that is just a huge change from most Western art. According to Whitney Chadwick, a feminist theorist, this was profoundly alien to the prevailing artistic temper. So as you can see, Judith is a huge figure in the feminine art movement.
Definitely.
And
Well, this has been fascinating, and I think we should go off and get some gelato before the stores close.
let's go do that. The gelato here is the best.
It is.
Ciao.
Ciao.